Welcome to episode 50 of the Animorphs Read Along broadcast. Today we are talking about book 43, The Test. This is an important book. It finally addresses a lot of Tobias's issues, kind of isolates Cassie a little bit from the rest of the group, and it's the kind of serious, plot-moving book that the series has really needed for a long time. Tobias is feeling heroic, and he helps save this lost kid in the woods, and in the process accidentally gets knocked unconscious and then, captured by vets who are trying to help him. During this whole rescue process, he thought spoke with someone, and, it made the news, this heroic bird who can speak, and of course the Yeerks come a-knocking. There's this crazy scene with Yeerk and the Animorphs all trying to save Tobias, and Taylor shows up. Taylor has some nonsense story about wanting democracy in the Yeerk Empire, and it's just a load of crap, but she wants to work with the Animorphs to blow up the Yeerk pool. The Animorphs are pretty sure that this whole democracy thing is just a lie, but regardless of her motives, this is a really big opportunity for them. When they start to really think about doing this, Cassie, of course, has some objections. She says, "Has anyone stopped to think that we'll be responsible for the death of hundreds, maybe thousands of people who already suffer the worst fate imaginable? Not that any of you care, but we'll be killing thousands of defenseless Yeerks right along with them." There's sort of this really interesting, philosophical debate that follows about whether or not they should do this, and obviously most of the Animorphs are not that concerned with the prospect of killing Yeerks, but Cassie's some of these people are in the peace movement, some of these people are defenseless, they have no other choice, they're innocent. And Jake finishes it off with, "Look, during World War II, we bombed factories and highways and railroads, even regular cities. Just because someone's not wearing a uniform or carrying a weapon doesn't mean they're not fighting a war." Cassie ends up just walking away from this mission, and I think that's kind of a big deal. She's definitely putting some distance between herself and the other members of the team now, and that's something that I think is really going to fester in the upcoming books. In the end, their big plan is to use Taxxons to dig a tunnel into the Yeerk pool, flood the Yeerk pool with natural gas, and boom. We as the reader have experienced the Taxxon physiology in the Ellimist Chronicles, but for the Animorphs themselves, this is their first time being exposed to it, and Tobias talks a lot about the uncontrollable hunger, which is sort of all driven by this uncontrollable fear. Taxxons are really interesting, and it would suck so much to be a Taxxon. The Animorphs have always called the Taxxons evil. They're the Yeerks are victims, but the Taxxons are evil, and Tobias is contemplating this a little bit. He says, "Was anyone all evil? That couldn't be possible. I've heard that even Hitler was good to his dogs. Evil, even the worst evil, has banal origins every human can understand. Weakness, fear, insecurity." These are the deep philosophical moments that I'm totally here for. This whole book, it had seemed Taylor was working against Visser 3, presumably because she wanted to take over, but at the end she betrays the Animorphs and they're all kind of getting sucked into the Yeerk pool and they're all gonna die together. Taylor is last seen falling and laughing, and we don't know whether she lives or dies, but the Animorphs manage to scrape through and head back to the pumping plant, and they find that Cassie had turned off the gas and had hurt really badly, if not killed, a couple humans. I think that the implication here is that they were probably gonna die and the Yeerks were dying, but maybe the book didn't want to go that dark. But Cassie was definitely shaken up and upset at her actions. So the Animorphs did not end up killing thousands of people and thousands of Yeerks, but Cassie instead ended up hurting, maybe killing a few humans. I think in a lot of ways this book is setting us up for the beginning of the end of the series. It kind of brings the war back into focus. It has some real dark material in it, with the kids having to decide these big things and the group kind of splintering a little bit. I like that this book reminds us that the Yeerk peace movement is still a thing, and apparently it's such a big thing that Visser 3 is actively aware of it and trying to target it and get rid of it, so that's important. Tobias spends a lot of time in this book contemplating the moment that he became a Nothlit, and there's been this anxiety really since the beginning of, did he let this happen? Could he have fought harder to stay human? Did he want to become a bird? And he says, "I looked back at the rock face, my Nothlit birthplace. I'd made a decision. Had I made a bad decision? I didn't know. And suddenly I realized that I would never know. I know that I stuck with my choice, and that I had followed it through to the very end." Tobias is always going to be a tortured soul, but I do think this book offers some, healing and maybe a little bit of peacemaking for him. And obviously the book ends with a scene of him and Rachel, who seem to be stronger than ever in their relationship, and that's something that he totally deserves. So yeah, this was the first book in a long time that didn't feel completely pointless. So that's a big deal. So yeah, those are all my thoughts about Animorphs number 43, The Test. The next book is book number 44, The Unexpected. If you want to keep up with this read along, subscribe to this channel or follow me on Twitter, and I will see you on Thursday.